Yo, I needed to do this video because it's just long overdue. I think all of y'all know that I'm a big fan of Marcus Sasser. I think most of y'all realize that. I think he's an absolute bucket. And something that's come up just as the offseason is approaching, we see the Orlando Magic have already made a move with the Memphis Grizzlies to get Desmond Bain and pick up or to let go of guys like KCP who just really didn't provide the shooting that they wanted. Uh, Cole Anthony really isn't a part of their future in terms of that point guard rotation. And so they were able to make a move to improve their overall offensive efficiency while letting go of players who were ineffective for them. Right? Great move for the Atlanta Magic. Great move for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think a lot of Detroit Pistons fans are kind of clamoring for the Pistons to make a move as well. They want to see them get out there, give them something to be excited about. But I keep saying sometimes you have to let the pot cook. You have to let the gumbo cook. You gotta let the chili simmer. You gotta let the greens sit. You gotta let good food do what good food do over time. You gotta let it cook. You gotta let these Detroit Pistons develop in their own pace, at their own rate. And the reality is, when you look at Marcus Sasser this season, I think he was the victim of the Monty Williams experiment. Not to say that he played badly. At times I saw Marcus Sasser as having more ball security than Cade or Ivy last season. I thought he had the most ball security on the team. He had an absolute bag last season, showed the ability to score in bunches. He had big games throughout the season as a rookie. He showed that he could be a legitimate scorer off the bench for the Detroit Pistons. And yet, this season, well, he unfairly got bench splinters. And that comes with the territory of losing, which is why a lot of veterans don't want to be on losing teams. Because when you're on a losing team, you get blamed directly or indirectly. They look at you as accountable and as a part of what created the losses. And so it impacts your ability to get playing time at your next space or at your current team, or it will impact your paycheck. Now, fortunately for Marcus Sasser, he's still under contract for us. He'll be in his third year next season. And as I have been saying, he needs to kick the doors down. He needs to come in there and absolutely blow JB Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon away and just be like, I'm the man. I'm going to be your sixth man off the bench, first guard off the bench, and ain't nobody in here messing with me. That's how he needs to come in. He needs to come in as a dog on defense. He needs to probably get a little bit stronger so he could be a little bit more physical because you saw how physical and intense the playoffs have been. Right. But I think that's more so to translate for his defensive potential, not his offensive potential. I think Marcus Sasser, as an offensive player, is built to get buckets. He reminds me of Lou Williams. He's not as tall or long, but he's every bit the elusive scorer that Lou Williams was. Even someone like, I'm trying to think of another really good six man. But you know what? I mean, who knows? Maybe Marcus Sasser can remind Detroit Pistons fans of Vinny the Microwave Johnson. Maybe even a little bit of Lindsey Hunter. A guy who can come in off the bench and light it up while providing a lot of defensive intensity to increase the pressure and the speed of the game when a starter comes out. You see, I happen to think that the Detroit Pistons, look, I understand why they went with Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and then later on Dennis Schroeder. I understand. Look, they were trying to bring stability, consistency. They wanted veterans who understood how to win, come in here and execute and play. I get it. But Marcus Sasser, JB Bickerstaff is already quoted as saying after a game where Marcus Sasser was extremely effective for them. He said, look, every time he steps foot on the court, he contributes to winning. Every time he steps foot on the court, he gives us reasons to leave him in to continue to help us win. JB Bickerstaff is already quoted numerous times in saying that. Cade Cunningham, his teammates, they understand. And yet somehow people are still clamoring for us to bring in another point guard. Now, I get it. Last season, we needed stability. Jaden Ivey got hurt. You needed someone who could walk into the playoffs, know what to do. And Dennis Schroeder was hard to pass up. I totally get it. I totally get it. And it was understandable and unfair at the same time. Two things can be true at once. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? Unfair, Marcus Sasser didn't get playing time, and it was understandable that they wanted a veteran who could help lead the bench coming into the game. Now, granted, Marcus Sasser was also learning how to facilitate a little bit better. He was learning how to set his teammates up a little bit better, and that was what JB Bickerstaff wanted him to work on. I get that too. It's going to bode well for his long term outlook. But let's not forget who Marcus Sasser is. Let's not let that detract from the fact that he's an absolute bucket. And when I say an absolute bucket, I mean someone who has a somewhat of a natural affinity for finding the right angles, distance, uh, um, footwork to get to his shots, to create scoring opportunities for himself with ease. With ease. Like there are some guys who can score, but it looks like they're trying hard as hell. Like if you look at Asar Thompson, if you look at Asar Thompson, what's good, Shakir Smith? Nah, don't trade him. Don't trade him at all. And I'm gonna explain why in a little bit. If you look at Asar Thompson, when Asar Thompson tries to put his head down and score, it looks strenuous. It looks hard. It looks like he's trying to just find his way to the basket. You look at guys like Isaiah Stewart. Bounce, bounce, dribble, dribble. It looks robotic. It looks arduous, like he's just having to strain himself. Look at other guys, even like a Jalen Duren. Looks like it takes concerted effort to score. And then you got guys like Marcus Sasser. I would dare say even guys like Cade Cunningham. Guys like, let's see who's in the finals right now. I mean, SGA. You look at guys like Benedict Mathurin, who just have a natural flow and rhythm that brings them into proximity of the rim, into space to allow them to create their own shot. Marcus Sasser is a legitimate, what I call a four-level scorer because people, there's at the rim, there's mid-range. I mean, there's actually probably like five different levels, right? There's at the rim, there's that from 8 to 15 feet. That's between right above the circle in the paint up to the free throw line, right? That's a whole shot area. That's your floaters, right? That's your runners. That's your little jump stop and do a little push shot, right? That's that type of shot. And then you have your mid range. That's generally like around that free throw line, 15 to 18, 20 feet, right? In front of the 3 point line up to the free throw line. And then you have your 3 point shooters, right? So that's your other layers. So that's about four layers. But then there's guys who can shoot threes about 4 or 5 feet behind the 3 point line. And it looks smooth. It looks legitimate. It looks like, yep, this is what they do, right? That's your Peyton Pritchards, right? That's your Tyrese Halliburton. I think Jaden Ivey's got that type of a range. That's your, let me see. I was going to say Le Guin's Dort. I think, Dort don't really have range like that. Isaiah Joe in the finals right now, maybe a Michael Porter Jr., right? Those are guys, Stephen Curry, of course, is an easy example. Shoot it way behind the 3 point line. So that's the fourth layer for me. That's what I would, or I'm sorry, that would be the fifth, right? At the rim, in front of the free throw line, behind the free throw line, at the 3 point line, and then deep behind the 3 point line. It's about five levels. Marcus Sasser is one of those guys who can score at all five levels with ease, with ease. And that means something. That means something because, when you look at the playoffs and you have this intensity of defense, guys are flying around, guys are giving it everything they got. I mean, they're just you have more athletes, you have guys who are more locked in, higher basketball IQ, better schemes for the other team. Guys are locked in. And sometimes what that does is it disrupts your role players, even sometimes your star players, from being able to get going. And sometimes you need to have that guy who just knows how to get it done. A guy who can come in like Benedict Mathurin and drop you 25 points in an NBA Finals game. A guy who can just, you know what? I got this. I know what I do, right? Like there's very little a defender is going to be able to do to stop them because they already have a counter move on top of a counter move. Great feel for the game and the defense. They know how to get around you. Marcus Sasser is one of those guys. You're not going to be able to bottle him up. In fact, the only thing that slows him down is overthinking. And if I'm 100% honest with you, the only thing that I've seen slow Marcus Sasser down offensively is overthinking, trying to set the table for his team, trying to be a facilitating point guard, a setup guy. That's what they needed last year when Jaden Ivey went down. That was what they needed. But that's not what they're going to need next year. Not only are we going to have Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, we're also going to have Asar Thompson, who's fully capable of running the point guard position as well. What they're going to need is someone who can come in off the bench and light people's asses up. Light them up. Come in and be a microwave scorer the moment you touch down, the moment you check into the game. That's what the Pistons are going to need. They're going to need that guy that can be an offensive relief, can be a guy who can change the tempo of the game, can be a guy who has gravity and people have to pay attention to, like a Peyton Pritchard, right? Six man is a real thing, right? You see TJ McConnell come in, change the game, right? You saw Cason Wallace come in the game, change the game. A Peyton Pritchard, right? I already mentioned him. You have Ty Jerome throughout the regular season for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Even though I don't want no part of Ty Jerome because I heard he was talking mess about JB Bickerstaff, and I'm big on chemistry. Nah, we don't need any of that. But it's to say that's who he can be. Let me get to some of these comments because this is an interactive chat. Shakir Smith, my man. Trade him now, not a point guard. No. As I just explained, he doesn't need to be a prototypical point guard any longer. He just needs to be exactly who he is. A guy who can come in and light their asses up. Knock down threes, get to the rim, put pressure on the defense, take pressure off the starters. That's who he needs to be. Some of these other points here. Doug McMenamin, what's good, man? What's good? Hey, my friend. Doesn't Marcus get relief when Asar can direct the offense? Point guard expectations are not essential. Thank you. You know, and then your point, I like Sasser as our TJ McConnell. Thank you. You know, look, I understand some people just watch the game of basketball. Some people just randomly watch, turn on the game. They're a fan of a team, so they watch, they cheer. Yeah, you know, some people are casual. Some people just watch the big games that are on the major networks. Some people watch when the playoffs start. But then there's like basketball heads, like me, right? Like I've been watching the NBA. The first time I recall watching the NBA and like with intention and being aware was Michael Jordan, the Bulls in the finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, going up against Pat Riley in the Lakers with Magic Johnson. That's when I started watching with intention, like learning. I can remember watching that finals and being like, look at Pat Riley. Damn, I want to be a coach. And so I was always like a coach growing up, always trying to talk and teach and stuff like that. And then I ended up coaching right out of high school, coaching high school basketball, ended up coaching college basketball, ended up coaching professional travel teams that were going from the Philippines to international. So when I watch the game, I'm feasting on it. It is an absolute buffet of things to learn, observe, take in. And so when I'm making some of these points, it's not just like casual fan points. It's not like, all right, I'm just trying to, and I'm not even trying to gas myself. There's people who have, downtown Deuce for Detroit Pistons is dope. I like him too. There's a lot of great content providers out there when it comes to the game of basketball. I just I just like to talk my shit too. This ain't my day job. This is what I do because I'm passionate and I love it. And when I see Marcus Sasser, I see someone who I actually genuinely enjoy seeing play. It actually kind of hurt my heart to see him on the bench. And he's stewing. He's sitting there like, man, I deserve an opportunity. I had a really good rookie year. And now I'm unfairly getting bench splinters, right? Too good to go down to the G League and absolutely just dog walk everybody in the G League. So now he's on the bench. And when he does get minutes, he's showing up. And sometimes when he's got minutes, he's in his head because now he's trying to be this facilitator. He's trying to be something that he's got to figure out and grow, but he's not getting the reps to necessarily really be able to figure it out. But I did say when they got Dennis Schroeder that he was somebody for Jaden Ivey and Marcus Sasser to study. He was somebody that I hope they asked him a million questions in the locker room. I hope they were picking his brain on the bus, on the plane, in the hotels, team dinners, etc. at practice. They should be watching film with him. They should have been, right? Because I don't think Dennis Schroeder is going to be bad. I think Dennis Schroeder is going to find himself a starting position either in Brooklyn, Miami. There's plenty of starting point guard opportunities, Sacramento, that he should be able to step into. So I don't think that he's coming back. But if Marcus Sasser and Jaden Ivey were watching him, there was so much that they could pick up on in terms of the nuance in which he played with, right? His change of pace, his understanding of who needed the ball in what point in time and how to play off of those guys. Not to mention his fearlessness. Sports Times was good, my man. It's good to see you in the chat. It's good to see you. Once again, it's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. If you enjoy interactive live video content, chat about the Detroit Pistons and NBA basketball, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Lets YouTube know you actually enjoy this type of live interactive space for a YouTube content provider. Back to the message at hand, like they say. Marcus Sasser is somebody that if he could pick up on the nuances that Dennis Schroeder was able to play with, especially throughout the playoffs when he was extremely effective, I think that will have sped up both his and Ivy's learning curve to be able to play at a high level, an extremely high level next season. Let me see. My first in-person game had Oscar Robinson, Bob Cousy, and Jerry Lucas playing Walt Hazard and Pete Maravich. Dang, yo, that's dope, bro. That's dope, man. I didn't get a chance to see those guys play. I will say for sure, Pistol Pete and Oscar Robinson, even Jerry Lucas and Bob Cousy, yeah, all those guys get overlooked when people start ranking them all time. I would want to actually, I do have a list, and I'm curious where you would put some of those guys on the list. Would you put, like, I have Oscar Robinson ahead of Steph Curry. I have him ahead of Kobe, Durant, guys like that. I have him pretty high ranking on my all time greatest list, but I'm not as familiar with guys like Bob Cousy, Jerry Lucas, Pistol Pete Maravich. Um, Let me know where you would rank them in your all time. I don't know if you have that type of a list handy, but let me know. I'd be interested to know. But when I see Marcus Sasser, I think to myself like how important his role is off the bench in the playoffs, right? Because we've seen teams be able to stymie what Cade wants to do. And I think Ivy is going to be a huge compliment to Cade Cunningham, a huge compliment. I think he's someone who has the ability to take a lot of pressure and attention off of Cade because you can't double off of Ivy. Not just because he's an above average 3-point shooter, like he's almost elite as a 3-point shooter, over 40% at 5 plus attempts a game, but he's also someone who has so much speed and explosiveness to get to the rim. You have to keep your defense positioned to be able to rotate and keep him out of the paint. So you can't put that extra attention on Cade Cunningham. But even when you slow them down and you manage to get your scheme all together, when you bring someone like Marcus Sasser off the bench, who can be a microwave and heat up, get you 10 points in 3 minutes off the bench, that type of a guy who can give a boost to your offense and can also be a dog on defense, which is what I want to get to later, is where I think he really needs to show out coming into training camp next season. But it's to say when you have that guy, he has the ability to change the balance of the game, right? We saw Tyrese Halliburton was struggling game five. I don't know if it's the injury to his calf. I don't know if the moment was just getting too big for him because he was also struggling in game four, right? Didn't quite show up how they needed in game four. And at the same time, TJ McConnell came in and absolutely took it to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And between Pascal Siakam and TJ McConnell, they were able to bring the Pacers all the way back to within 2 points midway through the fourth quarter. That is the potential impact of a high level six man. Here's the thing, I keep encouraging the Pistons to be frugal, to be shrewd with these contracts. Don't just be out here doling them out. Not just because they need to extend Ivy and Duran, not just because they're going to have to extend Ron Holland, not just because they're going to have to extend Asar Thompson, but because the more shrewd you are, the more cap space you have to round out your roster. And in rounding out your roster, you have the ability to make sure you have the requisite depth to make a long run. OKC and Indiana have probably the most depth of any team in the NBA, bar none. They go 10, 11 deep. And that's with injuries in Indiana. James Wiseman was looking really good towards Achilles. Okay. They had to figure something else out. They brought in Thomas Bryant, Tony Bradley, who's getting meaningful minutes. You got guys like Isaiah Jackson, who's been hurt most of the season. He would definitely be in this rotation right now. So even with those injuries, and Jarris, I can't leave out Jarris Walker, who's been out this whole NBA Finals, who I think could have been a huge difference maker for them. I thought he was coming on throughout that Knicks series, and then he rolled his ankle. I think he could have been a big difference maker. All that's to say is the depth that the Indiana Pacers had was what allowed them to burn the Knicks out. The Knicks had more talent. The Pacers were able to run them ragged. I thought to an extent they were running OKC ragged. The only difference was Tyrese Halliburton pulled up lane. And I think that was probably one of the biggest shifts in terms of the outlook of this series. And at the same time, also having 2 days off between games is a huge benefit. Huge benefit. Right? They have the week off before the finals start. Then they have 2 days off, 2 days off, 2 days off. I, I thought at a certain point they were supposed to get to only one game break in between, but it looks like two games still up till game six. Right? So that also plays into Oklahoma City's hands. But Oklahoma City also has great depth. They also have great depth. The guys like Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Kenrich Williams is giving them meaningful minutes. Alex Caruso. Uh, they've got like Jalen Williams, right? Big Jalen Williams, right? They have players who are able to play at a high level for them, who are actually showing that they can be contributors in the NBA Finals. There are very few teams going that deep. There are very few teams that are saying, hey, you know what? We trust our guys deep down the bench. And that's what the Detroit Pistons are going to need to ensure that they have. Because we saw shit happens. Guys get hurt, right? Indiana struggled in the first half of the season. Why? Because they had a bunch of injuries. Aaron Neesmith was hurt, right? I think Andrew Nimhard was hurt for a time. Tyrese Halliburton was hurt for a time. Right? Guys were dropping like flies. They were struggling. They were able to sustain themselves because of their depth. TJ McConnell, right? Eventually, Nemhard comes back, right? Then they got other guys um, stepping up, whether it's Benedict Mathurin, and he was hurt too for a time. He's very kind of injury prone of a player, right? But then they had other guys, Jarris Walker, guys stepping up, Ben Shepherd, all these different guys getting meaningful minutes throughout the season, keeping the Pacers afloat. That's what the Detroit Pistons have to build towards. And to do that, you have to trust the guys that you've already brought in. Now, I get it. Marcus Sasser came in with the Sarah Thompson, and that group of players and older came in with Troy Weaver, right? The Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham. That's Troy Weaver era. And so Trajan Langdon can say, hey, this isn't my guy. So I'm not as committed to him. I want to bring in my guys. But here's the thing. He's on your team. He's on a deal, and he's a guy that's already shown you he's legit. He's legit. I think you need to figure it out. Because I'll tell you this much. I'll be 100% honest with you. There's not a lot of really good six men out there. There's not a lot of really effective lead guards coming in off the bench who can either change the game defensively, like a Jamal Sheard in Toronto, or Davion Mitchell, who got some starts in Miami, but really he's kind of a backup. Keon Ellis in Sacramento, right? Like there's not a lot of guys who can change the game on a defensive end. And TJ McConnell is one of them as well. Or at least on the offensive end, Peyton Pritchard, right? Guys who can come in and just fill it up. Those guys are not a dime a dozen. Those guys do not come around that are legitimate, right? Like Campaign is barely legitimate as a guard who can come in off the bench and get you buckets, at least threes. Marcus Sasser is way better than Campaign. So if the Detroit Pistons don't invest in Marcus Sasser, if they sleep on him, now they're going to have to replace him. And then they're going to have to pay to replace him. And instead of getting more depth, because right now the rotation off the bench is hopefully Sasser, Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart. You got Simone Fontecchio. Hopefully Bobby Klintman beats him out in training camp. So now you have a good, solid, right, 8, 9 man rotation. Now let's say Bobby Clement, and this is something I will talk about later. I do think that Bobby Clement will be able to play some small forward. He's gonna have to come in ready to work on defense, giving great effort, but he has the length, he has the size at 6'10", 7-foot wingspan or 7'1" wingspan. He can shoot the ball. He's got really good agility. He's able to get out in the open court, kind of like a. He reminds me a little bit of a little bit less athletic. Um, what's his name? Kyle Kuzma. That's what he kind of reminds me of. 6'10", little bit less athletic, but similar play style. A little bit better passer, but similar play style. All right. I think he'll be able to play some small forward with Ron Holland playing the two. Right. So I think they'll have good depth already. And then it allows them to go out and get even better depth. Right. Go out and get another wing. Right. I already said in the draft, I want to see them go after guys like um, pull it up here. Because I keep my info ready. Y'all already know. But I like guys like Drake Powell, right? 6'6", 6'7", 7-foot wingspan out of North Carolina. One of the top players in his draft as a freshman, coming out after his freshman year. I like Adu Thero out of Arkansas. Not as skilled, but a crazy, ridiculous athlete with a 7-foot wingspan, right? Then you got guys like Chaz Lanier. I think he's going to be good even in transition. I think he could be a Tim Hardaway Jr. And then my man, who I think is my most slept on uh, player to be drafted in the second round, is Jameer Watkins out of Florida State. I think Jameer Watkins at about 6'7" with a 6'11 and a half wingspan, 215 pounds, coming out after his senior year where he was a leader, he was a captain, he was their offensive fulcrum. Guys like that, when they come in, they have a strong sense of not only who they are, but of what it takes to win and how to play as a leader out there on the court, how to make winning plays because they watched other guys do it for them. So they know how to do it now for those guys who are those guys. All right. Jameer Watkins is a really good athlete. And because he's had 4 years playing in college, he's more seasoned. He's more physically developed. He's able to come in right now and play. So I think he would be a great pickup in addition to this team to come in and contribute if we don't go with a Chaz Lanier or maybe uh, uh, Drake Powell, right? And I'm gonna do a draft video later. We're gonna do a live uh, thing as well, and I'm gonna tell you who I want the Pistons to go after and why and all that stuff. All that's to say is, if they don't invest in Marcus Sasser, they're gonna have to pay to replace him, and I think that that's a waste of your money when you already have a guy who's legitimate. Who's legitimate? Like if you look at some of these primary guards off the bench and you go through the league, you go through and you look at teams like Brooklyn, right? Who the hell are they bringing off the bench? Got D'Angelo Russell starting there, and then who? Like who? Who comes in off the bench and does something effective in the game? Right? You got Chicago. Right now, okay, I guess you could say Lonzo Ball and what's his name? I actually like what's his name, who's from Chicago. Uh who am I thinking of? Io DeSumo. I like him a lot actually. Um, we look at teams like Charlotte. Who they bringing off the bench? Trey Man, right? Like Seth Curry, KJ Simpson, right? That's who they were bringing in off their bench. You look at teams like Dallas bringing Spencer Dinwiddie. I guess. I guess. Ain't he retired yet? I guess he's still around, right? There's not a lot of good six men in the league. There's not a lot of guys who can come in and compete and get you buckets against starting level competition, playoff level competition, guys who could come in and change the game for you at any moment, right? There are very few of those guys. Why go out and spend money to get another one when you already have one? Let me get to some of these comments. Sasser is not a point guard. Oh, let me get to some of these. Doug, I will work on it. I'm biased because my mom went to high school in Indy with Oscar. That's dope. Oh, that's dope. That's hella dope. That's hella dope. I'm fairly familiar. I watched the documentary on Oscar Robinson and that whole high school. I guess his high school he went to used to be like a factory, and it was around pre-desegregation, and so it was like a huge school that became like a school for black kids, and then they were like selling out like college stadiums because Oscar Robinson was just balling out so much. That was a really dope documentary. That was a really dope documentary. So be as biased as you want because you've seen them, and you've seen everyone who's come after them, and I think that you guys tend to have more of a perspective of how to rate everybody else from there. So rate them as high as you want. I ain't even tripping. This is an interactive live, so please feel free to throw your questions and thoughts in the comment section. And if a lot of them are popping up, you want me to stop and talk about yours, please feel free to drop a super chat. We will stop and talk about it. Ethan, let me see. Sasser's not a point guard. No, he's not. He is a combo guard. At most, yep. He can still be effective as the main ball handler because he has great ball security and makes good decisions when he's playmaking for himself and others. It's just done differently because he should look to score first, precisely, almost every time and pass second. Man, I love it when folks take the words out of my mouth. That is precisely. Man, I almost want to screenshot that because that is so spot on. Like Tony Parker for the San Antonio Spurs was not your prototypical floor general facilitating point guard who set the table for his team. He could set the table, but he was primarily a downhill score first point guard. That's what he was. You got guys like Steve Francis, You got guys like I mean, even a Stephen Curry, right? But I don't really classify him as a point guard. But you got guys like Derrick Rose. You got guys like Jalen Brunson, who's becoming more of a score first point guard, right? Like it's not absurd that a point guard is shooting and getting shots up first and foremost and facilitating out of his playmaking. But here's the thing: I've seen Marcus Sasser make great assist pass off the pick and roll to Jalen Duren or Isaiah Stewart. I've seen him uh, uh, see the help rotating on defense and then come off that pick and sling the ball across his body to hit the guy in the corner in the opposite corner and it hits him dead in his hands for a wide open three. I've seen him make difficult high read, high leverage passes out of playmaking. So I know he's an effective passer. I know that he's got really good ball security because he's lower to the ground, low center of gravity. He's got a great handle, great control over the ball. That's what happens when you stay longer in college and you're your team's number one de facto scorer, right? You develop these skills at a high level. He doesn't get shaken up. He doesn't get rattled easily. He's someone who can handle pressure. I don't think he really feels pressure like that. I think he will have a continued learning curve because he's only going to be in his third year next season. But it's to say he's somebody that I trust in high leverage moments. He's someone I trust not to fold. I trust not to get small and shrink. I think he's going to do what he does, and that's get buckets. And that's exactly what you want. Some of these other comments here. Let me see. Let me see. Doug, I love Sasser, not just because he can get hot on the perimeter, but his little floater game, his floater game is deadly, bro. Ah, man, with the way NBA teams play, spot man, y'all are killing it in the chat right now. Bryant Williams, I don't know if I've seen you before in this chat, but welcome to the community, man. Smash the like button for me if you haven't already. Um, Let me see. You said hit that like button. This is good, brother. Giving us great rational content. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Um, Let me see. Sasser is great during press defense. I'm guessing you mean Sasser. Yeah, is great during press. Okay. I was gonna get to this, and you segued me perfectly. Perfectly. I think that is the jump, and I've been saying in my videos that I think that the jump for the Detroit Pistons. Oh, been here many times before. Okay, well, I'm glad that you're commenting now. I'm seeing your comment, man. Great comments. I appreciate that because it moves me exactly where I wanted to go with this video in terms of Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser, his jump, just like Jaden Ivey's, is not going to be about scoring more points and stuff like that. It's going to be about a commitment to defense. Like, I need to see Marcus Sasser come in and pull a case in Wallace. That's what I need. And I want to look up real quick. Let me see. Marcus Sasser draft measurements. Marcus Sasser draft measurements. Yep, got it saved. So he's 6'1", about 6'1" and a half barefoot, just under 6'3" in shoes, with a 6'7" wingspan. Now I want to look at Cason Wallace. Draft measurements. 6'2" barefoot, about 6'3" and a half in shoes. So he's about less than an inch. Cason Wallace is less than an inch taller than Marcus Sasser. Let me see what his wingspan is. His wingspan 6'8" and a half. So he's a little bit longer. He's a little bit taller, a little bit longer. I don't see why Marcus Sasser cannot be an absolutely disruptive defender at the point of attack, especially coming off the bench. I think he's someone that if he taps into that University of Houston energy, University of Houston is known for having dogs on defense. I mean, dogs, dudes who just coming at your neck. He knows how to play that style. He knows how to play physical. but I need to see him impose his will defensively. I think that is going to be the biggest factor in what grabs minutes. I know he can get a bucket. I know he's a bucket. I'm not worried about that. But if you can change the game, whether you're shooting or not, that's going to be that much more impressive and that much harder for JB Bickerstaff and that staff to keep you off the court. And I think you can do it. If Jamal Sheed, I know he was a defensive player of the year for the University of Houston in that conference, uh, and he came into Toronto and he's just completely, man, he just blows up everybody's spot. He's like Davion Mitchell from Baylor, who's now playing with the Miami Heat, right? They call him Off Night, right? Guy who can completely disrupt you defensively. Marcus Sasser, I need to see that type of energy from you. I need to see that from you. I need to see you blowing up the spot in training camp over and over defensively, letting dudes know, nah, I'm here. I'm going to be a problem on both ends. Because if you do that, you feed into what this team is trying to do. I keep telling y'all, I call them the jump squad. I know they got motorcade and going to work Pistons. I know they got their, mainstream marketing platform and all that stuff. That's cool. That's dope. I call them the jump squad. I call them because they have the ability to jump all over you. And I think that if they draft someone like Drake Powell, I prefer Jameer Watkins because he's just more seasoned. Also, Chaz Lanier, he's just more seasoned, right? But it's to say that as they continue to bring in guys who reinforce that level of defense, they're able to play with Asar Thompson as their fulcrum of that defense. And then guys like Isaiah Stewart who defend the rim at a high level, and Jaden Ivey and Cade who can play really good defense and get into passing lanes and get in out in transition. And then Ron Holland comes in off the bench, playing on the wing, getting out in transition. If Marcus Sasser can be a dude like that too, if he could be a guy who comes in and turns you over, like I remember I saw Marcus Sasser play against the Pacers. I want to say it was last season. And I was actually pretty pissed off about this because Marcus Sasser was having a good game and TJ McConnell was matched up against him. And TJ McConnell, look, he's one of those veterans who knows at times he's going to play dirty. He knows he's going to do whatever he has to do to validate his being out there every single time he steps foot on the court. He's looking to make a play. And unfortunately, TJ McConnell dove at Marcus Sasser's legs, similar to how Cole Anthony did with Jaden Ivey. Fortunately, it didn't have the same type of effect, but he was injured. Marcus Sasser was injured on that play, and I think he was out for a few weeks with it was like a sprained knee or something like that, or he had like a contusion in his knee. All that's to say, I'm bringing that up to say, I'm not saying I want Marcus Sasser to be dirty. I'm saying I want you to be right on that line. I want you coming in off the bench, giving me that TJ McConnell energy, that Davion Mitchell energy, that Jamal Sheed energy, that Derek White type of energy. I need you. Yep. Thank you, Bryant Williams, because I mentioned him at the beginning of this live. Lindsey mother freaking Hunter. He needs to study the roles of Lindsey Hunter. It came off the bench and gave opposing guards problems. Problems. And that's what I need from Marcus Sasser next year. I need you to come in the game and cause problems. Give them headaches. Make dudes be like, damn, this dude is coming back in the game. He's going to be reaching. He's going to be slapping. He's going to be scratching. He's going to be clawing. He's going to be boxing me out for no reason, getting physical with me for no reason. And we saw he was doing a little bit of that throughout this season. I don't know if y'all remember. He had a game. Trying to think the team he was facing, but they was getting mad at him. They were getting mad at Sasser. They was like, man, this, I'm like, keep jabbing me but Sasser was earning his minutes. He was fighting. He was fighting. He's like, look, it ain't gonna be sweet over here. It ain't gonna be comfortable. It ain't gonna be no cakewalk. If I'm out here on the court, you got to work for everything you get. I want to see Marcus Sasser picking up 94 feet. I want to see him end to end. I want to see him turning dudes left and right. That's what I need to see from Marcus Sasser next season. And I think if he does that, if he starts there, it's going to open up everything else. When he's ripping guys at half court, when he's jumping passing lanes and getting breakaway layups, he's going to start proving his worth, whether he's shooting or not. But because he's such a deadly shooter, I mean, he's what I call a sniper. He is a marksman. I've said it many times over. There's not a single time I see him shoot that I don't think the ball is going in. That's how good of a scorer shooter he is. Marcus Sasser is that dude. I think he is our sixth man of the future. I think he is worth investing in, and hopefully, the Detroit Pistons see that too. Because I would hate for them to go out and spend money, spend good money, right? Spend good money on what you already got. It's like going out and ordering pizza, and then you come home with the pizza, and then mom's already got dinner on the table, and she made your favorite, right? Stuff like that makes no sense. Doug, I appreciate the super chat, my man. Always do. Definitely appreciate you having you here. Man, I followed the NBA for over 60 years. Wow. You offer some of the best analysis I've ever heard. Thank you, man. Thank you, and I hope more folks follow. Man, I appreciate the love, man. You know what? I'm gonna be honest, man. It means a lot. I come out here, I talk my shit, man. I do it because I love talking about the game of basketball. I honestly, I love the game of basketball. It was my safe haven growing up. You know, when you're poor and you don't have a lot, and you don't want to sit around home thinking about what you ain't got. You know, you find other outlets, and mine was basketball. And so for me, I fell in love with the game at a young age. Uh, I saw my dad dunk the ball for the first time. I was playing soccer as a kid, like in kindergarten, and then I think somewhere around like first grade, me and my dad went to school after school, or something like that on a weekend or something like that. We're shooting around, and then he dunked the ball. I mean, I didn't realize the rim was lowered a little bit. He's about 6 feet, pretty athletic, but uh, I didn't realize it was a little bit lower. But he dunked on the rim, and I was just like, wow, like you know what I mean? Like have that moment, just like wow. And when I had that moment, from that moment forward, it was just like hoop, basketball, basketball. And I just fell in love with the game. I played it. Got a had a beautiful man. I've had a beautiful run with basketball, man. Played at a pretty high level. Played some college, community college ball, which I always say is like just basically a bunch of D1 guys who didn't have grades like me. Um, I got a chance to travel around the world playing basketball. I got a chance to coach high school, college, and travel around the world coaching. Ran camps, all that stuff. I do this because I love it, man. So for you to appreciate it, show me love, show up in the comments. I just want to say I appreciate that. I do. I do. I don't take it for granted. Appreciate people who show up for me. Um, Getting back to the team, I think the Detroit Pistons are going to be really good next season. Like really good. I don't think they're going to be a team that is trying to find their way. Oh, you got 48 years, Bryant? Okay. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate the love, man. Y'all out here, man, y'all showing some real love. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You know, one of the things that I keep encouraging, and you can go back to the beginning of this video to catch me saying this. I said, this team is cooking exactly how they're supposed to. They've gotten back on track, right? This is almost like I'm gonna be real. This, you know what this was? Troy Weaver in the front office hitting the reset, right? They emptied out the old pot of food that was sitting in there. It was going bad. It was no longer any good. They emptied out the pot. Traded away Blake Griffin, or they I guess he retired, injuries and all that stuff. Traded away Drummond. Reggie Jackson was injured, but they got him out of there too. They hit the reset. KCP as well, right? Ended up with the Lakers and won a championship there. Um, and they lost for a while. It ended up getting them Cade Cunningham. And then from Cade Cunningham, they got Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. Now, Cade got hurt, and that derailed the process a little bit. Then they made the mistake of hiring Monty Williams. I thought they should have kept uh, what's his name, Dwayne Casey. I thought Dwayne Casey is a validated, experienced developmental coach. What he did in Toronto was phenomenal. He was brought in by Masai Ujiri, who's one of the best front office execs in the NBA. Watch out for the Raptors next season. Um, and Dwayne Casey built that team. I thought it was a shame that they fired him for what's his name, the coach that's now in Philly. Um, I forget his name, but I thought that was a shame. Right as they were making that championship run, I didn't think it was Dwayne Casey's fault. They just didn't have the talent to beat LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then they get Kawhi Leonard. LeBron leaves the East, and they break through. Okay, all that's to say is that Dwayne Casey was doing exactly what they needed for Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. Exactly what they needed. Jalen Duren was allowed to shoot threes. Jaden Ivey was playing the point. Cade Cunningham was out. This is a developmental year. It's going to look ugly, but what these guys learn as rookies is going to allow them to grow that much more. Nick Nurse, thank you. I appreciate my chat. My chat, man, I don't know about most people's lives. In my lives, my chat is a real one. Y'all be having all the stats I need. Anything I ain't got, y'all got it. I appreciate that. It's real community. But Dwayne Casey, I thought should have stayed to see the developmental process through. One of the things that I constantly implore franchises to do is to not have coaching turnover. Coaching turnover is one of the death sentences for developing rookies, for developing young players. If you want to completely derail the development of a team, the restart, the reboot of a team, just start getting new coaches every year. That reset, it disconnects the players from the organization. Like, y'all ain't got it together, so I'm less invested. And it never allows the team to actually build the continuity that maximizes the talent on the team. There's always a new system, always a new identity trying to be formed, always a new scheme, always something different. So I thought Dwayne Casey should have stayed. When they fired him from Monty Williams, it reminded me of when, like, let's say big mama, grandmama, your mama's cooking in the kitchen. And then your dad, your auntie, somebody comes in and starts messing with the food. They take the pot, the top off the pot, and they start adding in spices. And they start throwing whatever they would put in there if they were making it. And all of a sudden, you come back to the pot, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? That's not what this is." And then you got to make all the adjustment with the spices and even things out and get it back to where you. And then you finally get it back to where you want it. You taste it, you sip it. Okay, it's good. Now let it cook. And that's where the Pistons are at right now. They've made the adjustments, they made the corrections. The food is it's sipping, it's good. Don't mess with the pot. That's where they're at right now. People were talking about trade this guy to go get Trey Murphy the third and go get Santi or Jaron Jackson, go get Michael Porter or go get Laurie Markkinen and make these moves. Got to win right now. Man, that's people who want to mess with the pot. That ain't nothing but a bunch of Monty Williamses. I let this team cook. Let them take their time. Because like I said, they're only 2 years away. They're only 2 years away. Knock on wood, no injuries. 2 years away. Next season is going to be about continuity coming together. Ivy and Asar together in that starting lineup with Cade, Harris, Duran. Then we see big jumps from them. Ivy playing 35 minutes a game. You're going to have Jalen Duran is going to be more consistent. Asar Thompson, more consistent. You're going to have Cade with a lower load offensively. Ron Holland finally getting consistent minutes. I think he's going to be somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes a game next season. Marcus Sasser hopefully is in that same range, 15 to 20 minutes. Isaiah Stewart, 15 to 20 minutes. Bobby Clinton beating out Simone Fontecchio and getting a solid 10 to 12 minutes a game, right? At least 8 to 12 minutes a game. And whoever they draft somewhere around there. A deep team that's in a second season with JB Bickerstaff and his system and his staff. Hopefully JB Bickerstaff gets some better uh, bench coaches because Luke Walton is not it. To be honest, I'm from the Bay. I'm from California. I seen Luke Walton. Seen him when he played for the Lakers. He was trash. Played with Kobe. He was whack. All right, would have never thought he was a high IQ player, coach, etc. I seen him when he was assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors, riding Stephen Curry's coattail just like Steve Kerr was. Then he gets fired from the Lakers because he's doing a horrible job rebuilding that team and connecting with the young guys with Lonzo Ball. Even LeVar Ball had to call him out to get him the hell out of there, right? And they bring in LeBron. LeBron's like, hell no, get him the hell out of here, right? Then he goes to Sacramento and he stinks it up there as well. All that's to say, JB Biggerstaff needs to upgrade that coaching unit. I mean, I do like some of the guys on that bench, but having him as your first guy off the bench, no, go get Mike Brown in from who just got fired from Sacramento, right? Surgery with Jerry Gus said, "What's good, man? What's good? I haven't seen you in a while, man." Um, let me see, get some of these. Doug, I love Ivy, so Monty didn't get that door fast enough. Facts, facts. Searching for Jerry Garcia, laughing my ass off, man. You hilarious. Luke Walton was trash with the Lakers. He was trash with the Lakers when he played there, when he coached there, and when he went to Sacramento. He was trash with the Kings. That's why they got him up out of there too. I hated seeing him on the bench behind JB. I'm like, man, JB ain't got nobody to help him on the bench with schemes. He needs to go, and they need to upgrade that bench because that's going to be huge, especially in like the playoffs and things like that. You got to have somebody who's able to give you more. Sports Times, what's good, man? It's always good to see you in the chat. I agree about the assistant coach, but that's JB's friend, so that won't happen, unfortunately. Man, let him be your friend. Let him be your friend. Let him be your friend. But I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I got some dope friends I've had my whole life. My whole life. I can accept how much they know about basketball and how much they don't. I'd put him on my bench too. If I'm coaching, I'd plug him. You got the end of the bench. You could be the developmental coach. You could be, I got a man, dude. He's like my brother. I call him my cousin. Man, we've been through life together, 30 plus years, man. Track runner, football player. He ain't a basketball player. You know what I'm saying? But I'd put him on my bench because I trust him. His loyalty is everything. You know what I mean? And he's an athlete. I think he could develop. He's great with people, right? Like I could find a spot for him. But I know if I'm gonna go and make a run in the playoffs, and we all need to be successful to keep these checks coming in, right? Because if I get fired because we ain't winning, guess who also getting fired with me? My boy, right? So I need to go get people who can help me to make sure that we win. He needs to go and get some other dudes to be that first coach behind him. It can't be Luke Walton. It can't. He should understand that. Luke should understand that. That ain't who you are, Luke. We all know that. JB's got to upgrade that as well. All is to say, they're finally cooking, and we need to let this team cook. We need to see what they look like next season. We need to fill in around the edges, around the fringes. Um, I don't think that there's a major move. If there's one move that I would really encourage that they try to make, maybe to get somebody like Marcus Smart, somebody who can play on the wing and at the guard position, someone who can be ready for the playoffs off the bench at the guard position. I think Isaiah Stewart will be fine. Ron Holland, I think you want to develop and get those learning moments in the playoffs, but I don't think necessarily you need to uh, get somebody to cover that. All that's to say is Marcus Smart can be a good player. Chris Middleton, even. Um, yeah, actually, that would be the move for me. If I'm honest, I would go to one of those teams and say like, hey, I'll take this contract. Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart. I'll take your contract. You give me a draft pick. You give me a draft pick, I'll take this contract. And he could be somebody who can play for a winning team, pushing into the playoffs, and you can have the cap flexibility, right? That would be the type of move that I would make as a Detroit Pistons. Other than that, I still like guys like Lindy Waters as well to come in as well, to bring him back. I would not, and I've said this repeatedly, I would not bring back Tim Hardaway Jr. or Malik Beasley. Look, they were great for us while we were a 14-win team trying to figure out how to win. Great job, great job, but you're not for where we're going. In the playoffs, I can't have a guy that's a cone. Can't have a guy who can't do nothing defensively. And if they're not scoring, is a liability. Get some of these last points here. Doug McMiniman, all this stupid trade talk makes me crazy. So you help settle me down. I appreciate it, man. It'd be driving me crazy. So I'm like, no. Like, fortunately, Downtown Deuce is somebody who's another content provider for the Detroit Pistons who, you know, can be on the level to an extent. Now I know there's this whole. I'm not even gonna go into it. I don't really think that the Pistons need to trade for anybody right now. Anybody. I'm not trading away a 22-year-old Jaden Ivey who has the ability to potentially become 25 plus point per game scorer and a future all star. Oh, he's a friend too. Oh, that's dope, man. That's dope. Hey, feel free to connect us, man. I'm definitely a fan of his work. He actually came out with a video today, a few hours ago, that was the same topic that I had from this morning. So I was like, oh man, great minds think alike. I was just watching his video before I started this live. So definitely let him know I'm a big fan of his work. Um, all else to say is the Detroit Pistons are on track. They're on track. And I think as fans, we have to embrace that. We have to be where our team is at. Quit trying to be where our team is not at. We're not where the Orlando Magic are. The Orlando Magic have two legitimate all-stars, multiple time all-stars on that team. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Matter of fact, I don't think Franz would have made it this year, but didn't play enough games. He got hurt. But Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner at this point are legitimate all-stars. Jalen Suggs, we know who he is. They can make those types of moves to go out and get a Desmond Bain because they're set. They're set. They are no longer playing the young. I don't know if you guys have noticed. They don't play their young guys. Caleb Houston barely sees the game. Jet Howard, who they drafted, I believe, in the lottery, right, doesn't even touch the court unless the game is over. Right? Anthony Black is trying to get himself going. They're no longer developing guys, bro. Tristan De Silva got minutes because there were so many injuries to Paolo and Franz. Right? So they're in a different space than us. They are a solid year ahead of us, but that's okay. That is okay. Because when we catch our stride at the end of next season, going into the following year, I'm fully expecting a deep run. As long as we're healthy, knock on wood, right? I'm expecting a deep run the year after next season. So let your team cook. Let your team cook. Why are you trying to rush the process? Why are you trying to speed up the food? You're trying to turn up the heat on the pot and it's going to burn on the bottom. It's going to change the whole flavor. Y'all ever burn some food while cooking and it changed the entire flavor of the entire pot? Then everything just tastes burnt. That's what some of y'all are doing to this team. That's what some of y'all are proposing with these trades, trying to make these moves, moving out core pieces, moving in a new core piece, right? Because if you bring in a Laurie Markkinen or Michael Porter Jr. or a Trey Murphy III, they will be a core piece. You will have to change everything around them. That's what you're going to have to do if you bring them in. So I keep telling you, don't try to speed up the process. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. You have the pieces. That's what I said last offseason. I said the guys who are going to change things for this team are already on the team. Cade, Ivy, Asar, Duran, Sasser. And then Ron Holland was about to get drafted. And Isaiah Stewart, who they should have let keep shooting threes. But I digress. The guys who are going to lead us back to the finals, conference finals, NBA finals, are already on this team. You don't need to go out looking for that. You don't need to go out looking for who's going to be a 1B next to Cade. He's already on the team. You don't need to go out and look for your sixth man who's going to be that guy who can change pace and really buoy the bench in terms of scoring or even point of attack defense coming off the bench. You already have, and that's Marcus Sasser, right? You have answers already on this team. You got to maximize what you have because that's how teams get to the NBA finals. That's how they get to the NBA finals. But as always, I appreciate everybody who comes on to these lives with me, this community that's forming. Uh, Doug McMenamin, Sports Time, searching for Jerry Garcia, Bryant Williams, shout out to y'all. Scott Murray, who was up in here too. Let me see, I think I had some other guys in here earlier. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yo, shout out to all of y'all who make these live chats really enjoyable for me. Um, and really make for really great content. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great night. Get at y'all next time. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Remember, it lets the YouTube algorithm know you appreciate interactive live content for your Detroit Pistons and NBA basketball. I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Peace.